I like my squash.
My game's football.
I like a game of tennis.
But I love
the Sport of Kings.
Sport of Kings.
Follow the trackside team for the best racing form guide.
And in this crazy life.
Sound of the moment. Warner Music Power Station. Thursday night at 10.
In this specific case, 族 is used more like the way we would use group in English,
Exactly.
like
Yes,
this kind of a group
and actually,
that
it
kind of a
can be
group.
different.
This is a cartoon series. It's all boxes. Because literally, the name of the main character is called Zhang Xiaohe. It literally means Zhang Little Box. The direct meaning will be moonlighters. Sounds like romantic to hear.
Well, it's a form of romanticism, but
Yeah, but indeed it means you spend every cent of the money you earn for every month.
we have a saying in French saying, you lose one and you'll get back 10.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Crossover. I'm Ji Xiaojun with Charlotte and Julian. And hello. And today we're going to talk about not only just about one term, it's really a group of terms, but somehow we've got these new terms, some newly invented, some imported from other countries. Sometimes they refer to a certain group of people, but sometimes they refer to a lifestyle. And we, in Chinese, it's called something 族. But
right.
literally means it's like the nationality.
It's like an ethnic, exactly, an ethnic group.
Ethnic group or a minority or a clan or even a tribe sometimes. But I think in this specific case, 族 is used more like the way we would use group in English,
Exactly.
like
but
this kind of a group
and actually,
that
it
kind of a
can be
group.
different thing. I even think that group is not the exact term, but it's like the closest, because in Chinese, it can either be people who actually share the same dreams, the same passions, so they kind of really are a group who actually meet each other in life or online, same principle.
Yeah,
and also it can be people who are, it's just a term that is used by observers to classify a certain kind of people.
Because sometimes we can also have a little category of these different terms. We put them in different groups. Terms of groups into different groups. And the first will be about people, well, actually the biggest group, about people going to office to work every day. And in Chinese, it's 上班族. Like literally, it means, office group.
Or like people that work from 9 to 5.
That's right. They have
9 to
a
5
term.
job.
9 to 5ers.
9 to 5ers. 9 to 5, the office people.
Yeah, that's right. And this is actually the biggest group because most of the people would have an office that you have to go to every day to work, and they have lots of stories to tell.
Absolutely.
To share with people. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, I think seeing as we're talking about groups, I think just right off the bat, I think it's important to say just again how China is a group society. And so I think oftentimes you find that you find lots of groupings here because that's sort of the natural tendency of Chinese culture is not so much the individual as it is the group. So you find these sort of group classifications like 9 to 5ers, people that, you know, go to work every day, and they fit into that group. So they're part of a group.
Yeah, and sometimes if you find yourself in a certain group, that means you are together with certain people. These people, they share maybe background, education background, or they share a lot with you, and you feel the sense of belonging. You belong to that group.
Absolutely.
It's like cab drivers
Absolutely.
going to the same small restaurants and talking to each other. I used to go to a restaurant in Beijing, in front of my house, where would always be cab drivers talking there. And you could hear what they were saying, the way they were dressed, everything. You know that they're cab drivers. And obviously they have a lot of stories to share.
What's this?
Well, this is a cartoon series. It's all boxes, because literally the name of the main character is called Zhang Xiaohe. It literally means Zhang Little Box. And the idea of this, character in boxes really is Because we are the 9-to-5ers, and we go to office, we take the tube, we take the subway, we take the bus. I mean, everything is like a box. The office is like a box. The subway train is like a box.
And when you're not in the box, you're on your way to a box.
Exactly.
Right, so you might as well be a box.
And we're in a box right now.
Well, we are in the boxes. We are, to some extent, we are the one of these 9-to-5ers. Yeah. And because when they are put into that group and they think, you know, these people are well educated, they have a family to take care of, they have their future of their career to think about, and these people, they share lots of concerns and worries.
Yeah, it's a scary way of life for me. Well, I'm lucky to have been able to choose something different for myself because I couldn't stand an office. I couldn't stay in an office. 2 hours in an office are enough to make me someone who is unable to do anything. I feel empty in an office.
But it's lucky for you.
Yeah.
Because you're still able to make a choice. You know, if you don't want to be in the office, fine, you have another way.
Yeah.
But I think you also have to say, you know, I think one of the reasons why we see this group, this 9-to-5er group, you know, and it's an established group in China, is because they live this very boxed life, and therefore maybe after work or whatever, they have ways of you know, communicating with other 9-to-5ers through the internet, through chat rooms, you know, through groups set up online of 9-to-5ers, you know, where they can maybe get a taste of something that's outside the box.
Which is why I think it's a good example of a term that is used not as, you know, to design people who actually meet each other on a common purpose, but it's just an observer point of view of a certain type of people.
They've been categorized.
Categorized, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that those people, then when you observe the phenomenon, will have the same kind of passions because of the type of life they are on.
Yeah, I mean, some people, and it's interesting because you mentioned you can't bear staying in the office for more than 2 hours, but some people would love to have a life like 9-to-5 because it means stable. You have a stable income. You know, you don't have to worry about you know, creating more profit for your employees.
Yes, and it's a routine. I mean, some people thrive on routine. They like to know, I'm at the office from 9, I'm done at 5 or maybe 6, and then my time is my time. I can do whatever I like.
Exactly. I mean, when we say, are you free next Tuesday? You would think, well, I don't know. But for these people, they know they can arrange their time.
And that's why you're always late, too.
My mom, it's funny because my mom actually is coming in July, and last year in like April, she was already calling me. So, could you help me with we want to book the hotels for, it's more than a year. Why do you want to? And she was saying, so are you sure that you'll be able to stay with me all the way? I said, Mom, ask me that question 1 week before you come.
Even until then, you can't
decide.
Even
until I'm not totally sure. Might have something.
Yeah, but I mean, as we said, to be in a different group, that means it's a different lifestyle.
Absolutely.
And you said you can't bear being in office for more than 2 hours. But, I mean, there is also the lifestyle for these group people like yourself. It's called Soho, because in the Chinese community, we have a certain understanding of this word, Soho. But Charlotte, where does it come from?
I've lived in New York before, and Soho is an area of New York that refers to an area that's south of Houston.
Is Houston like Houston? Is the same word, or?
I think it's spelled the same, yeah. But anyway, in New York, it's pronounced Houston. The street is pronounced Houston, and Soho refers to an area that's south of Houston. Whereas, I mean, Soho, there's a building complex in Beijing that's Soho, the Soho building complex.
There are a few now. There are
but I think, in this specific circumstance with this group, the Soho group.
It means small office, home office.
That's right. So it's people that either have their, they're in business for themselves, or, they work from home, or things like that.
It's kind of a tendency right now with the whole, the globalization and everything, that people lose their jobs more and more. I mean, there are more jobs that are lost than jobs created. It's been like this way for many years. So at least it seems that way, and it seems that because of that, more and more people are just trying to do something for themselves that is not always full-time. They try to make a little money here and there because they have no regular job.
You mean freelancers?
Freelancers, I mean, for many people also it turns out very well, but for many people it's going to be a little job here, a little job there.
Yeah, but you're talking about the group of people who are forced to be a Soho worker. I mean,
right.
yeah.
This is one part. I think it's a big part of them because they kind of they don't have a stable job, and they don't really find a stable job they would like to have.
Well, but at the same time, I mean, you have to look at the group of this group, of the Soho group, that, you know, they're freelancers. They're in business for themselves.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they work out of home.
Yeah, it really depends, because we have different types of Sohos.
Right.
It's either, you know, you have your own company, but it's only thanks to the development of the modern technology that you don't have to go to an office where everyone will meet each other. Well, you can just stay in your home, but connected by the internet.
I actually know a magazine editor who works from home.
Well,
and she's with a big magazine, but she can work from home.
I knew a broadcaster, a girl I knew who was doing 2 shows for a radio station in Beijing. And she was doing everything home. She had built her own little studio, very high quality studio. She never went to office.
Yeah, I mean, again, if we're referring to a case like this, you have to be in the network, like starting from 9, and you are offline not offline until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, then you're doing the same thing as those 9-to-5ers, because you still have to be there.
Well, what happens is that usually when you work at home for yourself, I mean, some people are lucky, but a lot of people ending up working more. It's just that they work more to some extent, but sometimes they have free time when other people don't. So it's a way of organizing your own time. But at the end of the day, if you do an average of hours you spend every week, Soho people I know work more than a 9-to-5er.
That's right.
Yeah.
Who do you think would be the right ones who can live a Soho life? I mean, because we have a long list here, like the as you said, a journalist or the
magazine editor,
or designers.
Yeah.
Designers definitely.
Artists.
Yes.
Artists, of course, they have to. Yeah. Well, but musicians are. It's different for a musician because he's going to be on set a lot of time. So it's not really his home office thing, you know. It's like he has to practice at home, obviously, all the time. But he travels a lot.
So he would be then part of or she would be then part of the musician group. There should
musician
be a musician group.
Musician groups are. I mean, it depends what kind of
Musicians.
Yes, the musicians.
Well, we
But-
have
but
that
among-
with musicians, as in urine. Yeah.
You know, a lot of musicians, I mean, members of orchestras are kind of 9-to-5ers in a way, but it's not going to be every day 9 to 5, but then they have concerts. So it's kind of the same routine.
Yeah.
I mean, the bottom line is you have to work.
Yes.
Well, you have to work
One
more.
way or another.
When you're a musician, you work more because you not only work in the rehearsal, you have to work for yourself also.
Okay, before we move on, let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Keeping your problems to yourself only takes you further and further down. Just give us a call. No matter what your problem is, we're always here to listen. The Samaritans, 2896 0000.
And welcome back to Crossover. We'll just move on to other different groupings, different terms. Yeah. The next one will be actually referring to a special lifestyle. It's called, well, 月光族, literally in Chinese. It means
No savings.
moonlighters. Moonlighters.
Yeah, the moonlight group.
It has 2 meanings. The direct meaning will be moonlighters. Sounds like romantic to hear.
Well, it's a form of romanticism, but
Yeah, but indeed it means you spend every cent of the money you earn for every month.
So you don't really have a sort
Any
of
savings. You don't worry about the future.
notion of savings, which I have to say, this group of people, you don't see, in my opinion anyway, you don't see much of in China.
no.
Because there's such a drive for saving money, ensuring your future, you know, getting money to help your parents when they get old or have a child or buy a house or a car, blah, 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 blah. So this is a lifestyle that is emerging.
It's interesting because some people would have this philosophy, say, if you don't spend money, you wouldn't earn money. I mean, what doesn't go, what doesn't come. I mean, it's an interesting philosophy. But I do see people now these days living a life in like a moonlighter. They spend, indeed, literally every cent of their salary. Yeah.
Well, at least they embrace the form of life that is, you know, not being afraid of not having money. I don't think in China you can, as Charlotte was saying, you can't expect having like
Charlotte,
in the
not Charles.
I said Charlotte. No,
Okay.
I said Charlotte. Trying to. Anyway, as you were saying, you cannot expect in China to have a wide phenomenon such as in Europe, in the U.S., of people actually spending next month's money. You know what I mean?
With
like
credit
because all the banks in Europe and in the U.S., not after the crisis, but before the crisis, it used to be the one who would allow the more. You know, without how you call that, the interest you have to pay to the bank.
Interest rates.
Interest rates.
Yeah.
On the
It's
other
very low.
Okay. Well, they have in France. I remember a bank that would say, well, within 3,000 francs. Back then it was like 4,000 RMB. Below zero, you owe nothing to the bank.
Wow.
And so there was this. All the students started to open an account there. You know, this is the type of thing we would imagine in the West. But in China, it's more kind of coming close to spending more money and not sacrificing yourself for whatever sake you will think of, you know, because it's always like, you understand with that in China.
Well, again, I think, you know, you can't deny the fact there are lots of people in China. China has a huge population. And so, I mean, maybe this has something to do with it or maybe it doesn't, but there's a huge emphasis and pressure really for people, especially younger people, to save money so that they can look after their parents. I don't know how many Chinese friends I have that will say to me, gosh, I really need to start saving money for when my parents get older and they have medical bills and this bill and that bill.
right.
And you know, there's a huge sense of responsibility.
Who would be the ones who would choose to live in a lifestyle like this? I mean, back in the States, the ones who don't have any worries?
More probably younger people who don't necessarily are married yet, don't have children, you know, don't really have any burdens, who want to see the world, they want to travel, they want to live a specific lifestyle where it means that they have to spend all their money every month, you know. I think similar to what you see here.
And actually,
really.
because I do see people, mostly young girls, because they, you know, they're still in their 20s or early 30s, and they earn decent, and they would choose to live, you know, a lifestyle which can make them travel sometimes, and you know, decent life in a big city,
do you know,
like in Beijing, and then. Because they have some philosophy backing the way they live. Say, maybe in one day I'll find my Mr. Right, and then I don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to lead to. Why is it girls? Because they still, in the back of their mind.
首先来看暴雨险情，中央气象台昨天再次发布暴雨蓝色预警，从明天开始，南方大部将迎来今年的第5次强降雨天气。目前。